Skeens deep 3 times. The Reds scored a 9-1 win at home over the Cardinals. The Diamondbacks doubled up the Mets 4-2. Bobby Witt Jr. has hits in 22 straight. He helped the Royals beat Tampa 8-2. In 10 innings, the Guardians got by the Twins 4-3. The White Sox beat the Brewers 8-0. The A's shut out the Rangers 3-0. The Nationals doubled up Philadelphia 4-2. The Tigers pounded the Angels 10-4. The Blue Jays over the Red Sox 4-2. The Rockies got by the Giants 4-3 in San Francisco. NBA playoffs last night. The Clippers forced a Game 7. They beat the Nuggets 111-105. James Harden, 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists in the win. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Lowe's helps refresh your garden in time for Mother's Day. Right now, get 4 bags of 1.5 cubic foot Scott's Naturescapes mulch for just $10. Plus, select 1.5 gallon annuals hanging baskets make the perfect gift. Now 2 for only $15. The best garden starts with great deals. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/7. Selection varies by location. While supplies last, discount taken at time of purchase.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app and get gaming strategies and information faster than you can say, "No, honey, I know how to gamble," when your wife asks for $10 to get a scratcher. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The only place in football where the offense is always on the field is on Moneyline. With the 2 best hosts in radio, Donnie Rightside.
If anybody wasn't watching, listen, I don't know what you were doing.
And Kevin Walsh.
Forget act like you've been there before.
On the SportsGrid Radio Network, Sirius XM Channel 159.
The best of every day now officially underway. It's a Friday edition, a solo edition of your boy Donnie Rightside right here on Moneyline Sirius XM Channel 159. And away we go into the afternoon. If you guys are watching here, Sports Grid On Demand, thanks for doing that. My guy Darren's out here already in the chat box. Love to see that. As well as so many other ways to watch, learn, and listen. SportsGridRadio.com, SportsGrid.com. And as I said, Sirius XM Channel 159. And away we go, which includes Sports Grid On Demand. The best way to reach out to us while we're live on the show, it is Sports Grid On Demand. So let's see how it goes. Let me hit a couple retweets out here on the old Twitter machine. And away we go. This is a Major League Baseball day today on a Friday. Excitement, full card. Haven't capped it, which I'm going to cap it with you right now. Then we make the appropriate adjustments. We do love Wednesday afternoons. We do love Thursday afternoons, because Major League Baseball usually plays in the day, but it's real condensed because my day usually is wake up in the morning, obviously doing some handicapping and getting ready for my show, The Early Line. Then I'm on the air live from 8 to 11 a.m. Then we cross immediately over to the radio show, and I don't get to see the updated lines, and because I'm doing so many other things at this point, it's nice sometimes to have a decompression and say, I don't have to rush and get a pick or two out by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or 3 o'clock. We have the night action here for us. Now, I understand yesterday, there were a couple of angles that I really liked. I thought the Milwaukee Brewers probably would have a pretty good day at the plate. They got shut out. Didn't bet it. And here's the reason why. Talked a little bit with Joe Ranieri on the early line about this. My favorite batter in that lineup was Christian Yelich, who seemingly got the day off. I said, you know what? I'm going to back out of that game. So we just went with a 1+ hit, run, or RBI market and ended up cashing it. Finally, some things broke our way. Not a lot of offense in the 3 games I picked out. And Stephen Kwan, who multiple times in that game came up with runners in scoring position and chances to get base hits, wasn't able to do that in regulation, which means the first 9 innings, which in the bottom of the 9th, he came up with a bases-loaded scenario with 2 outs, which was the perfect storm, which meant he gets a base hit, you win that bet. He strikes out, which he did. You go to second base in the 10th inning, and you get driven in, which is exactly what happened, and he did that. So that was a good day yesterday. Plus 125 parlay, which wasn't a big number, but still nice to hit your only play of the day. Steve Engblom's out here, Darren again's out here, Kristen Hess is out here, and away we go into Major League Baseball. But that's how the day went yesterday. Today, we're expecting much better, at least hoping much better. So I pulled all the information I need from a pitcher's perspective on the guys we want to fade in totality, which means righty and lefty batters. And then we'll get those finalizing plans for us on just the isolation of the markets between the lefties and the righties. Then we'll take a look at the Major League Baseball card and find out where some of these hitters are going to come into, and also some instances where you might be just looking and saying, boy, this pitcher's way better than the other one. This hitter's way better than this guy. And you sort of meld it down, because my perfect day in Major League Baseball is getting a really good look at a couple team totals, getting a really good look at some alternate team totals to put together in a parlay, and getting a really good look in the hits, run, and RBI market. If you can get that even displacement out here, you can have yourself a pretty good day. And you don't want to force it. You don't want to say, numbers just missed the cutoff that you like, but we'll extend it there. That'll end up getting you in trouble. Yesterday, I'll tell you what didn't get in trouble. If you did that in the Washington Nationals game, didn't score a lot early, scored a couple runs late, enough to get their team total. I did like that. But again, I didn't bet that game. So that's the way it is. Also out here, Aaron Schoen, my guy Jordan P, checking into the chat box again. You're in the chat box, give you a nice little shout out, share some information, have some fun on YouTube, SportsGrid On Demand, easiest way to go about it. When we go live on the radio, we go live on SportsGrid On Demand, and you can watch, listen to the show, and also comment on the show that way. All right, Major League Baseball today. I got 29 pitchers that I have rated today. Number 1 on the card, Yoshinobu Yamamoto of the Los Angeles Dodgers, a 1 ERA and an xFIP number of 2.21. The top 10 today is Jose Soriano included in that for the Angels. He's at a 3.61 or less xFIP. If we're taking a look at the top 20 pitchers, now we start to extend on that deadline. So you got 20 pitchers we're probably not going to fade based on a, let's just say, team total perspective. And that would be Merrill Kelly of the Arizona Diamondbacks, who's going to take on the Philadelphia Phillies today. Slightly higher xFIP number, but doesn't meet that 4.50 threshold. So the next guy does, which is 21. So we have 29 to 21 in the marketplace that we're going to fade. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that 8, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 pitchers today that we're going to fade in this market. And again, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is 9. Sometimes my eyes play tricks on me at my old age right now. So if we're going to get the all market together and start squaring away some opportunities, that starts with Robbie Ray of the San Francisco Giants. And his xFIP number, 4.54. Number 2 on the card we're going to fade, Grant Holmes. And that is of the Atlanta Braves. So ATL. And his number today, 4.71. Again, these aren't automatic bets here. These are the ones that we have to see, hey, put them on the card, analyze back and forth. Christopher says, I usually listen on the app. Nice to be able to interact with my favorite peeps, DRS and KW. See that? Love to see it. Love to see it. That's what we do out here. It's free. It's fun. Introductions. Have some fun as I go live. Because when I'm on solo missions, I need some other things to look at, right? I want to look at the chat box. I want to look at my statistics. I want to look at the camera over here and certainly make some sense. All right, so we got Holmes on the card for Atlanta. Dean Kramer, Baltimore Orioles today. So write down good old Dean. He's been a part of the show many times here. He's got first of all, put him down as Baltimore, and that's 4.77. So the higher you get, the better you get. But again, the threshold, 4.50 or higher in that xFIP number. Bayo on the mound today doesn't have a lot of innings pitched, only 11 on the season, but still under the qualifications of you just need at least 5 innings pitched to sort of get on the tracker here. That's Boston, and he is listed at a 4.87 number here. Boy, my writing is sloppy when you're going through it. Milwaukee Brewers, Quinn Priester on the mound today, and that's for Milwaukee, and he's got a 4.93, 19 innings pitched on the season. Logan Allen, who we've bet against time and time again, it feels like, for Cleveland, he is listed at a 5.01. So that's 6 pitchers so far. 7th pitcher on the card, Jonathan Cannon. It seems like every day, to be honest, a Chicago White Sox pitcher comes up on my card that I certainly want to fade. He's at a 5.07 on the season so far with his xFIP number. Mitchell Parker of the Washington Nationals. So we'll go Washington here. He is listed at a 5.15 through 37 and a third innings pitched. So got some good background on Mitchell Parker today. And one of the worst pitchers on the card, which again, only 8 innings pitched this year, but hasn't pitched all that well last year, that's Valente Belloso. And he is of the Miami Marlins at a 5.55 xFIP number. So again, 9 pitchers on the card that we have the opportunities to. Now, you can bend the rules sometimes in certain instances, but those would be the pitchers that you look at equal opportunity, as I like to say. xFIP is really high. Maybe the consternation, or the contemplation, I should say consternation. Contemplation is, let's see how they focus on the lefty and right-handed batters to make that more educated decision out here. AOD's out here, saying the Pistons destroyed him and hurt his soul last night. Tough scene out here. Also says, Donnie, we love you. Love to see that. There's CJ popping up in the chat box. Love fading below so as well. Who's probably going to be on the card one way or another. So we only have about a minute or so left in the segment. We're going to hit next, after the break, the left-handed pitchers on the card, which when we start to focus on which side we want, the 4.5s turn into 5s on each side. And it looks like we have 4 pitchers on the card today that have 5 or better xFIP numbers against lefties. Let's find out who those left-handed pitchers are, and we'll get to the right-handed bats and try to fade them as well. Good stuff today. It's a Friday. We will be in play, and we will be profitable. For DRS, be right back after this short break.
Download the SportsGrid mobile app.
Just do it.
You might as well get it.
We're not going to shut up about it until you do.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. A record 1,120 people accused of being in the U.S. illegally were arrested in less than a week during a sweep orchestrated by federal, state, and local authorities in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis joined officials from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to tout the arrests on Thursday. Mississippi's longest-serving death row inmate is set to be executed on June 25th. 78-year-old Richard Gerald Jordan, who was sentenced to death in 1976 for kidnapping and killing a woman, has filed multiple death sentence appeals, the most recent of which was denied in October. On Thursday, Sean Diddy Combs rejected the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged prison sentence. The 55-year-old is scheduled to stand trial beginning Monday with jury selection on charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and prostitution. Specific details on the plea deal were not released. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like frames. Because you found a classic 70s concert poster. But when you went to get it framed, you realized the frame will cost about 4 times the amount of the poster. Which is actually absurd because no one will be looking at the frame, and if they are, then you severely overestimated how cool this poster is. But then you remember by switching your home and auto to Progressive, you could save hundreds and put it towards a classic 70s concert poster in an absurdly overpriced frame. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Are you a small business owner who needs immediate cash flow? At Swish Funding, we have flexible funding options from $25,000 to $2 million. For the best rates and terms for your business, just one application to Swish Funding gives you access to our entire network of funders with cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
Let's make something crystal clear. The winning edge has nothing to do with increasing good luck. Luck has nothing to do with it. It's sports gaming strategies and information. You want luck? Flip a coin. You want to win? Flip it here. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You heard the man. Take the luck out of everything. Let's use analytics and statistics to benefit our advantages here on some of our matchups. And I talked about we had 4 pitchers that we are going to fade from the left-hand side today in Major League Baseball on deck. And they would be at least a 5 or higher xFIP number. Now, hear me out on this. You're going to like this. 2 of the pitchers here against lefties have 1.54 and 1.93 ERAs, but xFIPs of over 5 apiece. Sometimes you just have to trust in the numbers that they come back. So Mitchell Parker of the Nationals, let me go Washington here with my terrible handwriting, which sometimes I write and I'm like, okay, let me go back over my card. Now, who's this guy? Like, that's how bad my handwriting is at times. He's got a 5.33 xFIP number. But at the same time, I just told you, a 1.54 ERA. That's pretty impressive. Number 2, another guy that you really stay clear of for the most part, that's Max Fried, who, again, is a left-handed pitcher. He's got a 1.93 ERA to lefties, but a 5.38 xFIP number. So write him down for the New York Yankees. And then number 3 on that card is Brian Bayo, who, again, doesn't have a lot of innings pitched this season. And Bayo for the Boston Red Sox, he comes in at a 5.58 number. Number 4 on the card, that's Quinn Priester, who, again, some of these names are going to pop up 3 ways, which is then you start to look for at least an alt-team total to bet against. Priester of Milwaukee, he is at a 5.81 xFIP number. So when we look at some of those numbers, right, Parker, who struggles overall at 5.15, also struggles with left-handed batters. That's something that we can certainly correlate. You take a look at Bayo, who came in at a 4.87 xFIP number totality, and the lefties has a 5.58, and then Priester, who comes in at the 4.93 xFIP number overall between lefties and righties, he factors into a 5.81. Just make that adjustment there in that number. All right, so we'll go right-handed aspects going up against pitchers today. Let's bring up my handy-dandy numbers, and it looks like we have a couple guys just missing the cutoff. But there are 3 pitchers against right-handed batters that have high xFIP numbers. And it looks like we're going to have at least one trifecta here, people. Because third on that list right now is Mitchell Parker, once again of the Nats. And he's coming into right-handed batters at a 5.07. Let me just double-check something really quick here. So we'll go Nationals. See if the pitching matchups in their game today. That's a 6-10 start. And again, the odd part about it is Mitchell Parker's a lefty and still struggled with lefty batters also. That's something to certainly keep an eye on. But you do need matchups that make some sense. So let's just keep going down this path. Mitchell Parker struggling. How about Grant Holmes of the Atlanta Braves? Home tonight against the Los Angeles Dodgers. To right-handed batters, he's got a 5.09 xFIP number. So we got 5.07 for Parker, 5.09 on Holmes. And to right-handed batters again, Jonathan Cannon for the Chicago White Sox. CWS in my initials, and that would be a 6.11 xFIP number. Okay, so just looking at the pitchers again, taking into an effect where we're trying to handicap hits, runs, and RBI, maybe some RBI action. If you guys just like base hits, you know the drill. So if we're looking for the triple threat, we do have Parker, who is listed overall at a 5.15 xFIP. We also have Parker, who's listed at 5.33 xFIP against left-handed batters. And then Parker, again, has a 5.07 xFIP to right-handed batters. So we got a nice triple threat there. Now, the adjustments to be made is that's probably one of those spots that we're going to look at right away, which we will right now. So let's go out and take a look at the Nationals game today. Sometimes it's hard to find it when everything is on the board. As I said, one of the earlier games, actually the earliest game of the day. No afternoon action, but a 6:10 start tonight. And if we're handicapping this game, let me just get this. We'll go 6 o'clock. Parker versus Green, 9:01, 9:02 on the rotation, 6:10 Eastern. Parker, the left-handed pitcher, going up against Green, the righty. Favorite in this game, opened up for Cincinnati. No surprise, minus 164. That line is now as high as 185 at DraftKings. That plus money split, plus 150, plus 155. You can find those out there. And the total opened up at 8.5, now still sits at 8.5. My guy, X-Man, checks in here. Everything's good, brother. Everything is good on a Friday here. All right. So now if we have the lineup set, which again, we don't have it officially, but I just want to bring up the anticipated lineup, which would be the fade of Mitchell Parker. If we look at the statistics on the season, and here's what's always interesting. Parker has a low ERA. Like his ERA is 2.65. Donnie, why would you want to fade that? We don't care about ERA. ERA is just to say how many runs have scored, but the underlying metrics of the pitcher is exactly what we go after. If you are not striking out batters, if you are walking too many batters, that means traffic on the bases, high leverage situations, which typically is going to get the best of you. Hard contact out there for Mitchell Parker is there. Let me just see if it was fly ball percentage here. Yeah, decent fly ball percentage, but the right-handed batters is a little bit elevated, down a little bit to left-handed batters. I get it. Ground ball percentage is good, but the hard contact out here, the whiff percentage isn't very good. And the ball batting average of balls in play, which he's getting lucky at, by the way, it's down to a 217, which is pretty impressive if you don't strike guys out, and he doesn't. So if we're lining up and saying, okay, Mitchell Parker bad overall, Mitchell Parker bad against lefties, Mitchell Parker bad against righties, everybody would seem to be in the lineup to that. You say, you know what? I think we can eat off of this. So batters for this game, and it might be one of those where if I can find a partner, we take an alt team total line or maybe just a regular team total. We'll find out what's good in the day on that. Matt McClain, only 19 at-bats this season against left-handed pitching, a 353 ISO and a 341 made it on base percentage. He's going to be listed as a possibility today. So McClain of the Reds, we'll go Cincinnati. If we go down a little bit farther, Ellie De La Cruz is always a lightning rod. Slightly below average on the ISO power number, weighted on base percentage is average. That's something you might look at. Santiago Espinal actually has some pretty decent numbers at a 430 weighted on base percentage and a low K rate. So if I say that possibly the two best batters in that lineup would be McClain and Espinal, so we'll write them down. And again, I'm going to star Ellie De La Cruz. Sometimes you can't just, he's right in the middle of that lineup. Even those numbers are average, going against a pitcher that he might be able to get some thunder off of. He's going to get a star. So 3 Reds opportunities in that game. Once again, McClain, Espinal, and Ellie De La Cruz. We're going to continue to cap people. We're going to find the best spots out here and the best opportunities to make money on a Friday. It's what we do. It's Moneyline on the SportsGrid Network. And I'll be back right after this short break.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app. It's much easier to carry than your lucky horseshoe.
And you won't get stopped at the airport.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1920, the first game of the National Negro Baseball League is played in Indianapolis. In 1954, Stan Musial hits 5 home runs in a doubleheader. Stan the Man belted 475 career home runs and had a .331 average during his illustrious career with the Cards. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
A new jet lag study of 60,000 trips by normal travelers finds getting up early to catch our flight
Sorry, you're already late.
makes jet lag worse. To beat the 2-day average recovery time, try at breakfast exposing yourself to bright sunlight while pounding hot coffee. Or right after you land, have a big night out. And finally, a rather bizarre Cornell University study has found shining bright light on the back of your kneecaps for 3 hours stimulates previously unknown circadian photoreceptors until you fall asleep. Follow me at G Capalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
The early line.
He was the minus money favorite, the odds-on favorite to go first overall. For Shedeur Sanders not to be a first-round pick, all right, I think I could buy into that. For Shedeur Sanders to be a fifth-round pick, that is the shocker, that is the stunner, and that is why I buy that notion. It is the most surprising slide we have ever seen in draft history.
It's the early line with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There are too many people addicted to their phones these days, unless it's to look or listen to the SportsGrid mobile app. In fact, you should delete all your apps but ours.
Your wife texts you too much anyway.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
About that business here on a Friday, talking Major League Baseball across the board. Some good fade opportunities. We talked about some Cincinnati batters here. Let's continue down that path, because if we're taking a look at the pitchers that I do want to focus on, around those fives, right? There's a lot of guys. We just went over Parker, who's the triple threat today. We just might be one of those principal plays where you have to include him in at least an alt team total parlay to fade against. We'll get back to those in just a moment. But if we're looking down from the perspective of Vicente Balozzo of Miami, it's a guy that always has been on my radar here. But let me just take a look at where we're playing today in Miami, or for Miami, I should say. Scrolling down. Okay, let me just get these games in order of time. Makes it a little bit easier. In Miami, 7 o'clock start, I believe it is, in that time frame. 7:10 start. Hoagland, who has no statistics in Major League Baseball. Belotso does have statistics here. A high total of 9.5 in a non-hitter's ballpark. That tells you just about everything that you need to know. Now, let me take a look at my guy Hoagland. So I'm going to go to Fangraphs right now and just type in his name, since he doesn't have any Major League statistics this year or last year. Gunnar Hoagland, born in 1999. Let's see what he's done. He's been in Major League Baseball, or should I say professional baseball, since 2022, making his Major League Baseball debut, so he hasn't been up yet. If we look at his minor league statistics in 2024, let's see, in Double-A, he had a 2.84 ERA, which is the 3.95 xFIP, which isn't bad. Then he leveled up to Triple-A and had 5 starts and 26 innings pitched, got lumped up to the tune of an xFIP of 5.86 and an ERA of 5.88. Now, last year in MIBL, which again, I guess, is that a combination? A combination of the minor leagues with a 4.33 xFIP number. And then this year in AAA, 29 2/3 innings pitched. He hasn't been bad, a 2.43 ERA and an xFIP of 3.99. So maybe not really looking towards a Miami perspective, but again, we're looking towards the Athletics with Belotso here. Now, if we look at our guy Belotso, and instead of just looking at this year's statistics and go back to last year's as well, you see, how do you spell this guy? Vicente Belloso. B-E-L-L-O-Z-O. There we go. There we go. Valente. So last year, if we take a look, he's been in Major League Baseball, again, professional baseball, if I correct myself, since 2018, whether it's rookie ball, A-level ball, never really got above that until 2023. So you talk about not making it to Double-A for 5 years, that's pretty impressive. But he did have some decent statistics. Once he got to Double-A, back in 2023, a 5.19 xFIP, but a low ERA. But let's focus more closely on what we got out of 2024. In Major League Baseball, or should I say minor league baseball, 66 innings, 4.64 ERA, and a 4.20 xFIP number. 2024 in Major League Baseball, 68 2/3 innings pitched, 3.67 ERA, which is not bad, but a high xFIP of 5.47. Fast forward to this year, 19 1/3 innings pitched in AAA, a 1.40 ERA, and a 4.59 xFIP number. And then in 2025 in Major League Baseball, only 8 innings pitched, a 2.25 ERA, but a high xFIP number of 5.55. So if we're looking at that game tonight, and the estimated lineups that we have, 7:10 start. Lawrence Butler on the card today. Tyler Soderstrom, Brent Rooker, maybe even Luis Urias in that 7-hole with 49 at-bats. Now, it's also one where you don't want to force your opinion out here. Welcome to the show, Francisco. Banging it out, having some fun, getting some insight. Do you want to extend it? Because typically we like to see like 20, 25 innings, 30 innings. He's only got 8, but he is a fade guy. And the Oakland Athletics roster is very good. It's not a true hitter's ballpark like you're finding right now in Sacramento. You're in South Beach, so that does change things. 78-degree temperatures, 11-mile-an-hour wind, but the window's going to be open. Is the dome going to be closed? It's very hard to understand that until we get closer to game time. But as we pointed out last year, Belotso had very high numbers, ISO and weighted on base percentage to right-handed batters. This year, he's got good numbers against left or righties and not so good numbers against lefties. But again, the xFIP number is the mind-all tell-all here. So I'm right now, since the numbers are low, going to hold off on our guy Belotso, to be honest. Just to hold off for a moment here. We might be able to circle back. But I want to make sure that we're making educated decisions with a lot more innings and a lot more better situations. We'll find it. Trust me on that. So in the next segment, we're going to slide it down and take a look at Cannon from the Chicago White Sox, Allen of the Cleveland Guardians, and Priester of Milwaukee to see if we can find some action. Because Priester, left-handed batters, getting the best of him here. We also take a look at Cannon, right-handed batters, cracking him. So let's go down that little rabbit's path to see if we can find some winners today. About halfway through the show, halfway to go. We'll find them. We'll recap. We'll handicap. We'll make some money. It's a Friday with your boy DRS on a solo mission. I'll be right back after this short break.
This is the place.
This is where you'll get expert perspectives and sports gaming strategies 24/7.
And it's free.
Beat that, you cheap. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
NBA playoffs last night. The Clippers forced a Game 7. They beat the Nuggets 111-105. James Harden, 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists in the win. The LA defense able to keep Nikola Jokic in check. He put up 25 points. 20 of them came in the first half. Kawhi Leonard added 27 points. Now it's on to Game 7 in Denver this Saturday. The winner advances to face the top-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round. The Knicks eliminated the Pistons with a 116-113 win, 40 points for Jalen Brunson. New York winning the series in 6 games. They advance to take on the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. One game on the schedule tonight, Game 6 in San Francisco, Warriors and Rockets. Golden State up 3-2. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Barbecue season is back. Hey, it's Ellen.
And this is Sarah Beth.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese.
I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1. Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and a Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
If sports talk stations were buffets, we'd be the one with the line out the door where every night is rib night and you came alone because the crowd gives you a measure of cover so you won't get any grief for going back 9 times. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Cannonball! The reason we say cannonball is Jonathan Cannon is on the line today, or on the bump, for the Chicago White Sox taking on the Houston Astros. Ian Mack in the chat box. Love the show, DRS. 11 a.m. is the best time of the day. Absolutely it is. Especially on a Friday, man. Can't wait to go out and get some lunch after this. Wait for some of those starting lineups to come out. Major League Baseball popping away as we go. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful time of the day. Absolutely is correct. Let's take a look at Jonathan Cannon, because on our card again, overall between lefty and righty batters, it's got a 5.07 xFIP number, which is elevated. To lefties, not all that bad. Not great, but not all that bad. But to right-handed batters, a 6.11 xFIP number. That's the danger zone. Houston is playing in Chicago today, which, again, it's not great temperatures. 50 degrees, wind blowing in, not the greatest situation. And that's why you see that total. 7.5 runs to 8, depending on where you're shopping, but a monster favorite for Framber Valdez and the Houston Astros. But let's look at the anticipated lineup tonight for the Astros. It's not great. There's a lot of guys you cut out immediately right away. But if we're looking honestly and saying Jonathan Cannon does struggle specifically to right-handed batters because he doesn't strike a lot of them out and he gets way too many on his walk rate and a low, let me see what's some other percentages here that he has. Hard hit rate high, whiff rate low, barrel rate danger zone. See what I mean on that? So there's ways we can get around it. Fly ball rate close to 40%, not great. So if we're focused on the right-handed batters, let's go ahead with it. Number 1 on that card, Jeremy Pena. Estimated to lead off now that Jose Altuve doesn't do that. But he's a right-handed batter, 351, weighted on base percentage, ISO of 181 through 105 batters that he has. So we're going to write down Pena for the Astros. He's one guy that we're going to look at. Again, right-handed batters are the focus. Isaac Paredes, not a great season so far, but against right-handed pitching, a 173 ISO, slightly elevated, and a weighted on base percentage of 378. In front of him will be Altuve and Alvarez. Not great numbers from those. You also sometimes like, hey, why don't you play Altuve? You know he's going to get good swings of the bat and be on base. I'm trying to trust the statistics here. So Paredes, Houston. It's all right. 2 batters from the right-hand side, I think, makes some sense there. Walker's got some slightly elevated ISO numbers, but not necessarily a great weighted on base percentage. You're looking more for that. Give me a lower K rate, which Paredes has. Give me a lower K rate, which Pena has. Give me a higher ISO power number, which Pena and Paredes have. And give me a decent weighted on base percentage, which they both have. So those two certainly would be looking as opportunities here. Now also, as I told you, Jonathan Cannon's got bad statistics. but they are playing in a colder environment. Do you put them on the, I think they can just get out there and get a low alt team total? I don't know. So we're going to have to make some of those decisions a little bit later. So the fades of Cannon, who else we're going to go after next? Like Max Fried does have high numbers to lefties. And let me just go over this with you. Tampa Bay is going to take on New York. This game is in New York. 76 degrees, wind blowing out the right field. Fantastic conditions here. But here's where I wanted to go over this with you guys, right? Because you see and say, well, Donnie, if Max Fried is such a good pitcher this year, and he has been, very good numbers, and if we look at the overall card today, where does Max Fried come in at a 29? Max is 15th, a 1.19 ERA, but a higher xFIP of 3.77. Now, he's very good against right-handed batters to the tune of a 325 xFIP number. Right-handed batters, he struggles, which, again, doesn't mean he gives up runs, but the opportunity for runs are there. He says, well, Donnie, let's focus here and see why you can't find some action on the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, granted, you look at the lineup today, going up against Fried, you're trying to stack right-handed batters, which is what he does better against. If you look at the lefties in the lineup, Chandler Simpson leads off, or expected to lead off, has terrible numbers against lefties to start the season through only 11 at-bats. Same thing with Brandon Lau. Brandon Lau's got a 0 ISO as a left-handed batter to left-handed pitchers this year. That's not somewhere we want to go. It's like, hey, man, he's just fade Max Fried. I don't know, maybe they can get 3 to 4 runs off him, but I'm not betting against it. But I just wanted to bring it up as a good pitcher struggling with one side of the plate, where one side of the plate isn't even getting opportunities to actually bat against them. So you take them out. Brian Bayo, again, limited innings here. Let's focus on Priester. Let's focus on him. So overall in the card, 4.93 xFIP, but he does really struggle to the tune at 5.81 to left-handed batters. Now, he's pitching today for Milwaukee. If we line up this Milwaukee game, let me get some of the statistics here for us. So MIL, they're in the Dome today, so we won't worry about weather conditions. Going up against Brown, that 8.5 total, which some outlets, including DraftKings, showing a 9. The side itself, roughly a pick 'em. So not a lot of interesting numbers on that side itself. Let me just go ahead here and handicap this one. If we look at Quinn Priester on the mound, as we said, the angle for us is left-handed batters. You look at his K percentage to lefties, it's only 12%. Bad. You look at his ball percentage out there, or excuse me, walk percentage, 17% to lefties. Really bad. Weighted on base percentage, slightly elevated at 342. So lefties are where we want to go here. And this is finally where we might be able to sit back and say to ourselves, I think we might have some action today. So the Cubs, they bring the heat with left-handed batters. Kyle Tucker, writing his name down, absolutely. CHC, Tucker. Number 2, another left-handed batter, Michael Busch for Chicago. He's coming in at a 284 ISO and a 417 weighted on base percentage. He will be written down today. Lefties out there, Ian Happ's a switch hitter, but doesn't have great numbers against righties. So you sort of leave him off, but also you understand, like, man, if he can just get on base, Tucker, Suzuki, Busch, Kelly can certainly drive him in. Another guy that I like a lot too as well is my guy PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong. He's got some really good numbers against right-handed pitching. So there's 3 guys in that Cubs game that we can angle. And also, if we're just taking a look at, and let me just check here, Priester against right-handed pitching, or right-handed batting, excuse me. Not great, 420 xFIP number. So they might be a candidate as well, the Chicago Cubs, for an alt team total. Like, you need to be blown away when you get a team total. Like, ooh, everything matches up well. Now, the Cubs, as I said, you want to see as many left-handed batters in that lineup as you can possibly have. Happ, Tucker, Busch, that's 3, and Armstrong is 4. For like a true team total for me to go up against what I think makes the most sense, you'd like to get 5 or 6 plus bats. So they're just short of that, but they do theoretically have 5 high weighted on base percentage guys and 5 high ISO power number guys, which should be good enough there for at least an alt team total. So good. The Cubs are certainly a centerpiece here, and we'll be able to fade Priester at this point as well. Let's get to some of the other interesting ones here, which would be Holmes for Atlanta. 4.71 as his xFIP number overall. But if we focus in on just the right-handed bats, he's at a 5.09. So let's go ahead, and usually you don't have to twist your arm too much where you say, hey, Donnie, who's Atlanta playing tonight? Well, that's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. 76-degree temperatures. No real precipitation in the forecast. Light winds, not going to affect it anyway. Let's take a look at Holmes on the season. 117 batters that he's faced. His K rate is low to right-handed batters, right around 21%. You want that pitcher to be around 25% or so. Walk rate, 14% to righties, 14% to lefties. Now, we'll get to his left-handed numbers, which aren't bad, in just a few moments. But again, the focus is on right-handed batters with good numbers. Of course, you look right in that lineup, and we write down Mookie Betts. Like, Mookie Betts is a great name. You always want to take him, but at the same time, the numbers have to support it. 165 ISO, right around where you want it to be. Elevated weighted on base percentage slightly at 341. Low K rate, high walk rate. Get the guy on base, get him to do some damage. So Mookie Betts comes up first here. Second on the card, because we're focused just on right-handed batters right now, Teoscar Hernandez. One of my favorite batters in that lineup. Hits right in the middle with crazy good batters in front of him. 225 ISO, 328 weighted on base percentage through 84 at-bats against right-handed pitching. He goes down in the book as well for an opportunity to play. Now you get down Will Smith, has a decent weighted on base percentage, low ISO power number. Sort of stray away from that. You know who else is killing it in that lineup, guys? It's my guy Andy Pages. Yes, I know his name's Pages, but Pages looks good. 67 at-bats as a right-handed batter, a 246 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 404. That's impressive. Now, again, we're focused on the right-handed batters because lefty side, let me just see what my guy Grant Holmes is doing here. Is it bad? Is it good? Is he just missing cutoffs? Grant Holmes not bad. A 176 ERA, but he's got a 4.39 xFIP number. This is another one where it's like, boy, do you take the all-team totals? We got a lot of stuff that we have to get through today. But the Dodgers bats, at least from the right side, they should be bringing it. Opportunity is knocking, people. Will we answer the door and cash in tickets? Yeah, we will. It's your boy DRS, solo mission, Friday. I'll be right back.
Winning is not just beating the odds. It's the thing that keeps the wife smiling and your kids in respectful awe.
Oh, Father. Now cut that out.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Stanley Cup playoffs, Colorado rallied to beat the Dallas Stars 7-4 last night and even the series at 3 games apiece. Dallas took a 4-3 lead out of the second period, but the Avalanche tied at 6:02 into the third, then scored the winning goal at 9:04 when the puck bounced off a Dallas defender into the net. Nathan McKinnon credited with the unassisted goal. Now it's back to Dallas for Game 7, that game on Saturday night. Elsewhere, the Maple Leafs eliminated the Senators in 6 games with a 4-2 victory last night. William Nylander with 2 goals. Vegas advancing to the second round. They beat the Minnesota Wild 3-2 to take that series by a 4-2 count. The Oilers rallied in the series and eliminated the Kings 4-2 with a 6-4 win last night.
Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
It's Macy's Friends and Family Sale. Hurry in for insider deals on must-have spring styles from your favorite brands, like an extra 30% off new dresses, handbags, and accessories from Karl Lagerfeld Paris, Donna Karan New York, Avec La Fille, and more. Plus, get 15% off fragrances, beauty, and skincare, too. It's not only the best time to shop for yourself, it's also the best time to shop early for Mother's Day. Don't miss Friends and Family and Sunday at Macy's. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
With Progressive Snapshot, you could save on auto insurance rates by driving safely, which is nice because you can just keep doing you. So keep on using that broken phone charger because it occasionally works. Keep quoting something you heard on a podcast as your own. Keep ignoring your sister's texts while you drive and after. And when baggage claim says, have a great trip, keep on saying, you too. And keep driving safely. And you could save with Snapshot from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
You've heard of smart bombs,
Smartphones, smart cars, smart watches, and smart glasses.
Now you can add smart player,
giving you sports gaming strategies and information 24/7.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Based on handicaps, guys, it looks like the opportunity to have 11 batters against the pure statistical analysis, which is nice because we can build that into some nice cards tonight. I'm happy about that. But also, sometimes you just want to go over the card, I should say, with a fine-tooth comb and say, all right, are there opportunities out here, not just based on strict fades, that we believe we might be able to catch a little lightning in a bottle and do some damage? And I think there are. So let's go over real quick as a nice little refresher here. Game number 1 on the card tonight, Washington and Cincinnati. Mitchell Parker's on the mound. We already talked about his struggles and being a triple threat tonight, which means lefty batters, righty batters, and combined lefties and righties he's been having trouble with. We gave some thoughts there on Cincinnati. We'll have to see what that final lineup is. But the batters in that equation for me are McClain, Espinal, and Ellie De La Cruz as a possibility today for us. We look on the other side and say, okay, Hunter Green's on the mound. We're not fading anything, even though I love C.J. Abrams, James Wood, and Nathaniel Lowe. I do like those guys. They have high numbers, but not enough to be enforceable to take a play. Dylan Cease is on the mound for the Padres today. And Dylan Cease, where's he overall, by the way? Let's just see. Dylan Cease is 13th on the card today, 3.72 xFIP number. Not really looking to fade. But guys that have pretty good numbers against right-handed, see, where I'm going to leave it off the card, but I'm going to tell you some circumstances that would catch people's attention. Cease this season, 135 batters. I just told you. He doesn't have bad stats. His ERA is really elevated, 5.76. Don't care. He's getting a little bit unlucky. 3.72 is the true number for him. The one thing we like about Dylan Cease, he is a strikeout guy on the season. 27% of the batters he faces strike out, elevated even more for lefties at close to 30%. But if lefties do make contact, they do damage. ISO against 203. Weighted on base percentage, 343. Heck, even the right-handed batters have an elevated weighted on base percentage of 366. You look in the lineup today, Oneil Cruz is off the charts with numbers against right-handed pitching this year. Andrew McCutchen has solid numbers. Emmanuel Valdez, fantastic numbers. So if you were just looking to say, based on situation and he needed to throw in a play, like Oneil Cruz, Andrew McCutchen, and Emmanuel Valdez would probably be good. And more leaning on those left-handed batters, per se, right? Because if we take a look at Dylan Cease, what's his xFIP, though, to lefties? Is he shutting it down? Is he giving it up? What's he got here? Dylan Cease is right at 408, so he's right about average. So when you look at those opportunities where if you're taking analysis of xFIP out of it, those guys probably would be in my lineup. But again, we're trying to be smart. We're trying to be shrewd. There's a lot of plays each and every day. You want to make the best possible decisions. But that's why I like to go over the card with a fine-tooth comb and say, where were some of these guys active here? Mitch Keller's on the mound today. Not a great pitcher overall. Do I have him listed at all? He's not on the fade list here on either side. Fernando Tatis ripping the cover off the baseball. Obviously, number 2 overall in the odds market at the FanDuel Sportsbook to win MVP. He's having a great season. Everybody else in that lineup leaves a lot to be desired. So not much there. Arizona and Philadelphia. Merrill Kelly, not a great pitcher. Good lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies. Stott's got great numbers. Harper's got great numbers. Schwarber does. JT Realmuto and Max Kepler against right-handed pitching. But for Merrill Kelly, he's not really on that fade list for us. And overall for Merrill Kelly today at 4.47, which again, he's average. He really is. 4.47 overall. Let's just see the lefties for our guy Merrill Kelly. That's a little bit down the charts, 482. Merrill Kelly also to righties is about a 3.95. So if you did want to focus on left-handed batters for the Philadelphia Phillies, there might be opportunities. But again, we're bending the rules just a little bit here. Stott, lefty, looks good. Harper, lefty, looks good. Schwarber, lefty, looks good. And Max Kepler. So that's something just to keep an eye on. Also, here's what you like too, guys. Because in order to sometimes bend those rules in your favor, if you take a left-handed batter, where do most of their home runs go? To right field. Pull the ball down the line, hit a home run. In Philadelphia today, guys, 6:45 start, 82 degrees, almost a double-digit wind blowing out to right field. That's some things that can sway your opinion. And also keep in mind, low strikeouts in the lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies against right-handed pitching. Something to keep an eye on, some food for thought. That's why we're going over this with a fine-tooth comb. Jesus Luzardo, he's got great numbers on the season. I love that lineup for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but it still has to make some sense as opposed to just a love. We're going to lay off Luzardo because on the card today, he's number 4 at an xFIP of 3.04 and an ERA of 1.73. None of that will be there. Let's head to the Bronx in New York. 76 degrees, wind blowing out to left field. You love to see that. Pepio's been a decent pitcher this year. Where does he come in overall? Where's my guy Peps at? Peps is 12th out of 29 today at a 3.71 xFIP number. Now, if you say to yourself, okay, the statistics on the year against Pepio, he's got good strikeout numbers, doesn't walk out a lot of guys. That usually helps. He's gotten peppered against lefty and righty batters. A 288 ISO to lefties, a 257 to righties, high weighted on base percentages. If you combine 147 at-bats against him, that ISO 271 and a weighted on base percentage is 370. That's astronomical. A lot of players in that lineup today for the Yankees have high ISO power numbers. So we're looking at the same, boy, Aaron Judge always gets on. Ben Rice has been phenomenal so far. And what has Ben, let me just see what he has, Ryan Pepio, as we switch back and forth. How does he do against right-handed batters? 14th on the card, 3.83, not terrible, not great. And to left-handed batters, I would like to see Pepio a little bit farther down this list, but he's not. He's 8th on the card at 3.58. So he's having a good season against a lineup that can hit with warmer temperatures and wind blowing out. Sometimes I can see where you want to try to extrapolate and say, let me take that. It's enticing. If you're just looking at non-analytical numbers, that Yankees lineup makes a ton of sense. But again, playing the analytics game, we're going to see what makes some sense. Not fading Max Fried there either. Baltimore Orioles, Kansas City Royals. Michael Wacha's on the mound. Lineup looks fantastic for Baltimore against right-handed pitching. Mullins is high. Henderson is high. Rutschman, O'Hearn, and Laureano. But if we're facing Michael Wacha today, as I look down the list, I don't have him on my extreme fades list. So if we start to sort of back check and say, how's he doing against right-handed pitching for Michael Wacha? Or right-handed hitting, he is 4.12 as an xFIP number, which again, isn't bad numbers. To left-handed pitching for Wacha, he's at a 4.60. So he's average. So do those bats sort of take control? 79 degrees in Baltimore, wind blowing out the center field, high ice and weighted on base percentages. We got some numbers here today. We really do. Because there's some good lineups and some good hitting environments, which include winds blowing out and runs scored. But the extreme fade list, he doesn't make it here. Flip it over to Kansas City going up against Dean Kramer. If you just look at Kramer's numbers through 140 batters, you should be able to crack him. But he also comes up as a 4.77 as an xFIP number, but not the extreme fade list on lefty and righties. Let me do a little bit more work on Dean Kramer here. By the way, that lineup stinks for the Kansas City Royals, man. That's like Bobby Witt and Drew Waters today. Ain't much to live for here. So I don't know if that one's going to make some sense, but see this? Let's find some more additives next. More players, more props, more money. It's your boy DRS.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app and you'll never be alone. Take the latest episodes of your favorite shows with you anywhere. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
For anyone who's worried about back taxes, has not filed tax returns, and doesn't know what to do next, stop and listen. Not filing your taxes can have severe consequences, especially in this political climate. Now that COVID is over, the IRS is getting aggressive, massively increasing enforcement and collection efforts. With politicians making all sorts of promises, especially when it comes to taxes, hiding and not dealing with your taxes will cause you harsh legal and financial ramifications. But right now, the IRS offers forgiveness and writes off a massive amount of tax debt. The Tax Doctor offers a free service that helps people get out of IRS collections and back in good standing with the government. Don't hide or bury your head in the sand. Take advantage of our free service. Call now to learn more. 800-816-4492. 800-816-4492. 800-816-4492. That's 800-816-4492.
Sports Rage tonight.
That's why, Cam, I didn't play golf more. I played golf when I was a kid with my grandfather. I used to play with a 1-iron, bro. Like with the old school clubs. Like, I'm playing with a 1-iron. You know what that is? I'm playing with a 1-iron. He goes to me. Jack goes, if you can play with a 1 or 2-iron, you can play with anything. Here you go, kid. All these stupid curves. He goes, these idiots with their curves. He wanted to stick straight.
It's Sports Rage Tonight with Gabe Morency. Weekdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. On the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Searched. And now you found it.
A mostly peaceful oasis in the sports talk desert, where one multi-platform giant shines like a lighthouse on the calm ocean.
Nice metaphor.
That network
is SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Been a fun day so far of handicapping here, just going over some of these games to try to find some angles that we can sort of sink our teeth into. Going over Dean Kramer. Just a shame that he's going up against a lineup that isn't all that great. Michael Wacha on the opposite side. He might be in for some damage going up against that Baltimore lineup. Cleveland and Toronto, Logan Allen, who I did have on the fade card today at 5.01 xFIP number, the danger zone, does struggle with left-handed batters this season. But let me say, Logan Allen to righties, struggling with a 4.92. He just misses out on that. And by the way, we might have something here. So if we look at Logan Allen, let me go to left-handed batters for Logan Allen too. Logan, where are you? Okay. I don't seem to find him here to lefties. Come on. You know he's out here. Logan, where are you? I don't have him listed here. So we got Logan Allen to righties and Logan Allen to lefties. What am I missing here? He's dropping off the page? He's not sensational. How many? Let's just go. Hold on. Logan Allen has what? 25 2/3 innings pitched here and a 5.01 xFIP number. Why can't I find him up against left-handed batters today, though? Chris Bassett, Green, Pepio, Brown, Senzatella, Holmes. Wow. He's not on the card to lefties. I don't know. Maybe that's just a oversight here by the website I'm using at this point. But to right-handed batters, Logan Allen has a 4.92 xFIP number. So to right-handed batters in that lineup today, you know who's cracking from the right-hand side? That's Vladdy. You know who's cracking? That's George Springer. We'll have some options in that game at 7:07 tonight. All right. Feeling better and better about this. Chris Bassett, we'll leave him alone at this point. Talked about Gunnar Hoglund making his Major League Baseball debut tonight for the Athletics against the Marlins, going up against Bolozzo, who doesn't have great numbers, doesn't have a lot of innings. And maybe it's just like, hey, you go Lawrence Butler, hey, you go Soderstrom, hey, you go Rooker. See where we're going with that? Or just maybe an alt-team total could be coming from that game, but there will be opportunities. Minnesota and Boston, that's Joe Ryan on the mound, not looking to fade him. And Bayo, who doesn't have a lot of innings pitched, who was okay last year, struggled a bit with lefties. That's a lineup that should be able to hit him, but I'm not comfortable in that fade status in that game for me. Dodgers and the Braves. Yamamoto, ain't fading him, I'll tell you that, even though I like that lineup tonight for the Atlanta Braves. Grant Holmes, opportunities to smash him as we already went over. And a couple batters that we're looking at, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, and Andy Pages. They make some sense there. Houston and Chicago. Framber Valdez on the mound. We're not fading him against that terrible lineup with the Chicago White Sox. But offensively, as a fade for Jonathan Cannon, he's a guy that's got a 5.07 xFIP to everybody. And then to right-handed batters has been brutal. Righties, Isaac Paredes and Jeremy Pena in that game for us. Seattle and Texas, Brian Wu on the mound tonight. Doesn't have great statistics or overwhelming statistics this year with a 3.76 xFIP, but still good enough to stay away from Texas. Jack Leiter on the mound. Brutal last year, much better this year, but limited innings, only 13 1/3, and an ERA of 2.03. The lineup looks really good for the Mariners. But it is early to trust. Does Leiter actually have it together? Or does he regress back to what we saw last year where he can absolutely get knocked out? I'm talking about knockout. X-Man's out here talking about knockouts from the boxing markets tonight here in the chat box on SportsGrid on demand with a lot of everybody else listening and watching along as well. Milwaukee Brewers tonight versus the Chicago Cubs. You know me. I'm feeling those Cubbies tonight. I am. It's an 8-10 start in Milwaukee. Oh, it's cold in Milwaukee. Doesn't matter. It's a dome, people. Tucker, Suzuki, Bush, Kelly, monster ISO weighted on base percentages here, which I seem to think I'm going to focus more on Tucker, Bush, and my guy Pete Crow Armstrong in that game. But we will be in play some way or some other there. Clay Holmes, good pitcher for the Mets. Out on that game, not fading him. Sonny Gray, good pitcher there for the St. Louis Cardinals. Nothing much to look at. Detroit and Los Angeles. Tarek Skubal's on the mound. You know we're not fading that guy and just going with some hitter props there. That's ridiculous. Jose Soriano on the other side. He's got a 3.61 xFIP number, which is good overall. Jose Soriano, if we go to left-handed batters, does he drop down a little bit here? He does. 4.60. And then to right-handed batters, for Soriano, he's actually number 2. Ooh, stay away from that. Only left-handed batters need apply in that game. And if it was lefties, my guy Kerry Carpenter, love that guy, and Riley Green, the usual suspects, as we like to say. For the Angels, again, nobody's fading against Tarek Skubal. Last game tonight, Colorado and San Francisco. Is that Senzatella on the mound? That is my guy. 4.44. How about what's he doing the lefties? Where's the little Senza doing the lefties? Decent. Where's he doing the righties? A little tough there, 4.68. His ERA is monstrous, but maybe it shouldn't be that high. But I got to tell you, Giants lineup tonight, Yastrzemski out of the leadoff spot, Jung-Hoo Lee in that third spot. We got options, people. We handicapped. We did it right for an entire hour. I got angles to play, and we will be playing them. Give me a follow at RightSideVP on Twitter, and we will be back on Monday for another edition of Moneyline right here on the SportsGrid Network.
Ask any woman and she'll tell you all men are afraid of commitment.
Clearly, she's never met a SportsGrid listener. Checkmate. Check.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Points for Jalen Brunson. New York winning the series in 6 games. They advance to take on the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. One game on the schedule tonight, Game 6 in San Francisco, Warriors and Rockets. Golden State up 3-2. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Barbecue season is back. Hey, it's Ellen.
And this is Sarah Beth.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese.
I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and a Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
If you want to be an alpha,
You've got to get the winning edge.
it's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory.
With the winning edge.
You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, weekend edition of Football Full Circle underway right here on the SportsGrid Radio Network. Joe Lisi, Scott Wetzel taking you around the NFL for the next hour. Sirius Channel 159. A very light week, Scott, in regards to NFL news and notes, but the Buffalo Bills did sign former Cleveland Brown, former New York Jet wide receiver Elijah Moore. Potentially Elijah Moore can help elevate that wide receiver core with Josh Palmer that they've gotten in terms of the free agent market. Any idea whether Elijah Moore could be a huge factor for the Bills' offense this coming season?
Huge? No. Could he help? Maybe. Probably. But, if he couldn't make it with some of those other teams, how's he really going to help with the Buffalo Bills, right? So, but they didn't really address the situation, through the draft. I see the GM got a little snippy with the media who brought that up, right? If you saw that little clip of him, trying to say, hey, listen, we don't need superstars. We could do it, spread the wealth around a little bit. So he just one more piece to the puzzle, right? Nothing crazy, but okay, at least they're trying.
Let me ask you this, because I did find the comments by being a little intriguing, saying that they put up 30 points per game. Why are you, bashing the wide receiver core? And I get that to a degree. But if you look at just the last game that they played against the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, they trailed that matchup, right? And Josh Allen had basically the football and basically about 70 yards to go to potentially either tie that game or win it in the fourth quarter. And they couldn't step up and just make enough plays, especially as it related to the passing attack. They had Matt Collins, a journeyman wide receiver. They had Dalton Kincaid and still have Dawson Knox. You could say adequate tight ends, but they're not stretching anybody vertically for the most part on a consistent basis. And it relies on Josh Allen to do it all for about 75% of the offense. So when you look at the comments overall, do you think Bean is right that, as long as you're putting up 30 points per game, doesn't matter if you're throwing it, running it, it really doesn't matter as long as you're scoring a certain number week in and week out? Or do you feel that they are maybe a player or two away from competing with the likes of Baltimore and Kansas City, respectively, to win an AFC championship?
It's kind of weird, Joe, right? I mean, they've done it both ways. They had Stephon Diggs. He was the number one wide receiver. He was stretching the defense. He was the Mr. All-World, let's go to him. And that didn't work. Then they get rid of him, and they, go bullpen by committee, if you will. That's successful last year, but did it ultimately work? That didn't work. So I I got a feeling if you're Bean and you're Buffalo, you're like, I don't know what to do. I mean, Josh Allen had as good a year as you could possibly have for a quarterback last year. Really cut back on all his mistakes that he made the year before, really the 2 years before with the red zone turnovers and stuff like that. He really cut that back, and they still couldn't beat Kansas City. I don't know. And we saw how outmatched Kansas City was against Philadelphia, right? So it's not like you have the excuse anymore, well, Kansas City's just great. It's Patrick Mahomes. Where they're going to be the second best team in the NFL. That's not the case anymore. So they got to really just be like wondering, what is the formula? What is going on that we can't, they're kind of like the Toronto Maple Leafs, although they did win last night, version of the NFL. You get there, have all this talent in the world, but just don't perform in the postseason.
I agree, and I think when you look at Keon Coleman as well, and knowing the situation, what they did to trade with Kansas City, to see Xavier Worthy really come on and progress in the second half of the season. Most consistent wide receiver for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, a little too late, but he did have 2 big play touchdowns and over 100 yards receiving. When you see that type of performance against the Philadelphia Eagles and say, if you're the Buffalo Bills, we could have had that guy, and the guy that we did take in Keon Coleman really just walked through the motions, right? Was in and out of the lineup. Yeah. You had certain glimpses where Keon Coleman looked like maybe an above-average wide receiver, but if we're looking at Xavier Worthy, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, I don't think you could put Keon Coleman on the same level as those young wide receivers entering year number 2.
No, I mean, I'm guessing they expect him to really take a major leap up. Because don't forget, on the market this offseason, first of all, you could have had Stephon Diggs. They weren't going to go back down that road, but he was available, just to say, throw it out there. Devontae Adams was out there. Metcalf got traded. So there were some decent, big-time wide receivers on the open market that even Buffalo didn't go. So it's not only the draft, it's the offseason stuff that they passed on. So that they must really be counting on Coleman to take a major step up, Joe.
Yeah, and it is intriguing because you look at the offense. When they had success, Scott, it was running the football, right? Whether it be Josh Allen or James Cook. Ty Johnson didn't get involved in the third down game, also spelling James Cook to a certain capacity. But James Cook wants his money, right? He's been a no-show in terms of the mandatory OTAs that have took place over the past couple of weeks. If he's not in that lineup, do you think it hurts Buffalo in any capacity, or do you think it's more just a plug-and-play type of system? As long as Josh Allen's healthy, this offense can cook.
Yeah, that's probably it, right? Listen, he's a good running back, great running back, but would he be that way on another team? Probably not, Or could you replace him? Probably, with a guy that's nearly as good or just as good. So worthy of getting a decent contract, okay. Is he going to hold out and really, put the Bills over the barrel? I kind of doubt that. He's a running back, Joe. Sad to say, but most of these running backs are, just a dime a dozen, in that there are a lot of good ones out there. It's the offensive line that creates the holes. It's the wide receivers in the passing game that doesn't allow defenses to put 5 guys in the line of scrimmage. So they can live without him more than, he can live without them.
Did you see the report, Scott, about Hunter Renfrow? He's back with the Carolina Panthers. He did have a disease, didn't really step up in his last season with Las Vegas, battled weight issues. He said he was down to 150 pounds. Now with Bryce Young, Adam Thielen, and those playmakers there in Carolina, Hunter Renfrow could be an added complementary piece to potentially allow Carolina to make a wild card appearance.
Yeah, I'll never forget when Gruden was head coach, right, when they drafted him and they showed the picture of him in front of everybody. He looked like this 150-pound weakling wide receiver, so maybe there was a reason for that, right? But again, kind of like with Buffalo, just is he going to get the 75 receptions this year? I kind of doubt that. But, could he add to the piece? They're slowly but surely building a halfway decent offense in Carolina. I'm intrigued. I was not a Bryce Young fan coming out of college. So the first couple of years was like, I told you so. But he did show a little something last year for sure. Last half of the season, last 4 or 5 games, like what they did in the draft. So in that division where you don't really have an overwhelming favorite, maybe Tampa Bay, they could be one of those surprise teams this year.
Scott, minus 125 over 6.5 wins, which if you think about
I didn't get that.
I think so too. I think at worst they could be an 8-9, 7 and 10 football team, you clear that. I think you look at the progression of Bryce Young. You look at Dave Canales that really, stuck with his philosophy. It took a little bit of time in terms of the first half of the season. They made some great strides against some of the best teams offensively and defensively, right? Challenged the Kansas City Chiefs, lost a very high-scoring game, went toe-to-toe with the Philadelphia Eagles, almost pulled that ball game out on the road as a 13.5-point underdog. As long as they start that way this coming season, you would think that they could get clearly to 8 or 9 wins this year.
Yeah. You got some halfway decent teams, Joe, that have low numbers. Now, the NFC has the one less home game this year, but still, whether it's the Giants and Jets we talked about yesterday or Carolina, teams that, are they going to win a Super Bowl? No, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about just reaching, 7 wins, basically, with some of the numbers that they're posting. Giants at 5.5, Jets at 6.5. Could these teams get, 6, 7 wins? I would think so. I don't know who the team is going to be, because I do like the Cam Ward situation in Tennessee. We might not have a bottom feeder this year. Like last year, we had a couple, whether it was Tennessee, the Browns, whatever. I don't know if we're going to get a team that only has 2, 3, 4 wins this season.
Could be the Saints. You never know. With Arch Manning and Garrett Nussmeier waiting in the wings potentially for the NFL draft, that's what it's all about. When Scott and I return, we'll dive into more conference and divisional odds right here on Football Full Circle.
Five scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin.
He just gives that vibe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. A record 1,120 people accused of being in the U.S. illegally were arrested in less than a week during a sweep orchestrated by federal, state, and local authorities in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis joined officials from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to tout the arrests on Thursday. Mississippi's longest-serving death row inmate is set to be executed on June 25th. 78-year-old Richard Gerald Jordan, who was sentenced to death in 1976 for kidnapping and killing a woman, has filed multiple death sentence appeals, the most recent of which was denied in October. On Thursday, Sean Diddy Combs rejected the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged prison sentence. The 55-year-old is scheduled to stand trial beginning Monday with jury selection on charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and prostitution. Specific details on the plea deal were not released. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like frames, because you found a classic 70s concert poster. But when you went to get it framed, you realized the frame will cost about 4 times the amount of the poster, which is actually absurd because no one will be looking at the frame, and if they are, then you severely overestimated how cool this poster is. But then you remember by switching your home and auto to Progressive, you could save hundreds and put it towards a classic 70s concert poster in an absurdly overpriced frame. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Are you a small business owner who needs immediate cash flow? At Swish Funding, we have flexible funding options from $25,000 to $2 million. For the best rates and terms for your business, just one application to Swish Funding gives you access to our entire network of funders, with cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
There's something you should know and always remember.
SportsGrid does not increase luck.
We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck,
go find a horseshoe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, back on Football Full Circle, breaking down the conference and divisional odds. We did this yesterday on the show. We'll continue with some stages of elimination, which we talked about it in the break and yesterday. FanDuel does a fantastic job. These were not available last year in terms of the markets. It just provides another area for you to get coverage, whether you don't want to take futures on a specific team. It does give you another area or out, per se, on some of these teams. Let's take a look, Scott. We looked at Denver yesterday. Let's look at the Detroit Lions because they're a hot team. They lose both coordinators, right, which is similar to what Philadelphia did a couple of years ago. Philadelphia looked like they didn't miss a beat when they had Brian Johnston as offensive coordinator. All of a sudden, they race out to a 10-1 overall record. Unfortunately, they end the season 1-5, lose in the first round of the playoffs to Tampa Bay, and then regroup and win a Super Bowl in year number 2. Same situation for Detroit. Still offensively, they have the pieces in place. They have Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Jared Goff. But for them to miss the playoffs this year, they are plus 210, Scotty. For them to lose in the divisional round like they did last year, it's only plus 360. Are you still as high on Detroit being a potential number 1 seed like they were last season? I'm selling them to a little bit of regression. I think they can be challenged as well by the likes of Green Bay and maybe even Minnesota to challenge for the NFC North.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think the NFC, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. I think the NFC is much better this year than last season, and then the AFC, I think, is coming down a peg or two. NFC, you got to count on Washington and Philadelphia. I'm a little bit of a believer in Dallas. You got the 3 other teams in that division alone. You got San Francisco. You have the Rams. You got Tampa Bay. There's a lot of teams. There's more teams that there are holes to fill, right? So someone's not going to make the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be Detroit, though. That's a halfway. If their number, and you can figure it out, with another icon there, to make the playoffs, if it's minus, 190 or 2-1, I would do that. So they're going to make the playoffs, right? They're not going to fall that far back. But are they Super Bowl worthy? Not with Dingling on the sideline. I'm telling you right now, I'm not a big fan of his. The way he coaches, it hasn't changed much over the last couple of seasons. I can easily see them losing. And they'll be favored again. So that plus 3, you always got to kind of project. Chances are pretty good that they'll get the win the division. Could be a wild card, but I think they'll win the division. They'll more than likely be a favorite in that round. So you're holding on to a ticket now of plus 340 or so. And then you could hedge a little bit the other way when they get into the postseason, and then bet the opposition. But I don't think they're getting to the Super Bowl. Let's put it that way.
I don't either. So then we would look at losing the divisional round, right? If the mindset is they had the number 1 overall seed last year and still couldn't make it to the championship game and had home field advantage, right? To your point, let's give them the division. Let's say they play week 1 and win. They're not going to lose in the championship game, are they? I mean, there's a lot of cards stacked against them, right? New offense and defensive coordinators. They're not potentially going to be, let's just say, the number 1 overall seed. That's going to be, let's say, the Philadelphia Eagles. So they're not going to have home field throughout the playoffs. So divisional round at plus 360 makes the most sense out of all these bets right now, right? I mean, you're not even getting value. You would think you'd be getting better value for them to miss the playoffs, but you're not.
Right, right.
It's crazy. Plus 210. You think that number to miss the playoffs would be like a 4-1, 5-1 number? They're not. The books don't want the exposure.
Yeah. That's what I figured it would be. Maybe not 5, but I figured it would be at least 3 and change, if not 4, as you mentioned here, to not make the playoffs. To only minus 210. That's not
plus 210
rather. Yeah, that's not that should be higher than that. I mean, let's just consider the division being that much tougher. Boys in Vegas are buying into the Bears. Are you really going to get 4 teams out of the NFC, out of any division? That's kind of tough to do. Not impossible, but it's very tough to do. It's just more balanced this year, Joe. I mean, you got 7-8 teams this year. Last year you had 2 or 3. Right, heading into last year, you had Detroit, you had San Francisco, and I suppose Philadelphia. Right, that's really maybe Green Bay. That's it though. But now you got Washington in there. You got proven Tampa Bay is going to be in there. You got the Rams back into the equation, so you got a few more teams now. And you throw the Packers in there that 1 year better. Minnesota, Green Bay. That's you got a number of teams that could now get into the postseason. There's got to be a halfway decent team in the NFC that's not going to get in.
I agree. I'll say this. If you're looking at the elite teams, I took a look at Kansas City and Philadelphia to both miss the playoffs. Not great value, Scott. Kansas City 3-1 plus 300 to miss the playoffs. Eagles only plus 310. So it really shows you that either the books feel there's parity or they don't want the exposure in terms of a letdown. But if you're not going to get it with those teams, you're not going to get it with some of the middle-of-the-road teams in the AFC and NFC, right? You're not going to get that great value to say, all right, this team's can't miss the playoffs. I'm going to clean up. You can't. You can't. If you take a shot on Philadelphia to, let's say, limp to a 9-8 record and miss out on the playoffs, you're only getting 3-1 on your money. And then to tie it up now until basically December, January? That's a long time.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of weird, Joe. It's like they made all this effort to put these bets possibly up there, and they're all good bets and fun bets, and you want to dive in, but then the payouts, as you're saying, it's not worth it. You're 3-1. If I don't think Philadelphia's going to make the playoffs, I might as well just bet against Philadelphia every single game because I know they're going to have a losing record or a 9-8 record, right? Why lock your money up at plus 310 only? Those numbers should be in the 4 or 5s at least.
You would think, right?
Whether it's make the playoffs or lose in the first round or second round, whatever the case may be, they all should be 100, 150 points higher than what it is. Who wants to lock up their money now to win on a 2-1 bet? What's the point?
Yeah, I totally agree. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see if they change or add broader markets. When we return, we'll dive into some player props on the AFC side right here on Football Full Circle. Coming right back. Keep it where it is.
There's smart.
And there's not smart.
Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Keep it here.
And win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1920, the first game of the National Negro Baseball League is played in Indianapolis. In 1954, Stan Musial hits 5 home runs in a doubleheader. Stan the Man belted 475 career home runs and had a .331 average during his illustrious career with the Cards. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
RoboBee, an amazing technological achievement by Harvard University's microbiotics laboratory, is a 1-inch long, 80-gram synthetic insect intended to intelligently swarm and pollinate like real bees.
Frankly, the masses wouldn't appreciate it.
Which, up to now, has only had one problem.
I don't have any legs and can't land without killing myself.
However, due to a new Harvard evolutionary biology breakthrough study of insect locomotion,
bees got knees.
RoboBee can land with the graceful legs of the crane fly. One additional great feature of the RoboBee?
Huh?
No stinger. Follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to the Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
I think Halliburton's dad's a joke. Like, go have a sandwich. Stop bringing him to the games. He thinks he's on the team? He's like this guy Smith, who walks into arenas, thinks he's playing on teams. You have to be a narcissist. What is wrong with you, bro? And that dad walking on the court after games and getting in players' faces, someone's going to knock his teeth out of his mouth.
It's Pharrell, Coast to Coast with Scott Farrell. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Listen to SportsGrid Radio on Sirius XM Channel 159 and get the winning edge. There comes a point when the chips are down.
To coin a phrase.
When the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared?
Or rely on luck? Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, continuing the conversation, Scott and I are talking about divisional odds. We left off talking about Detroit to miss the playoffs, some of the other teams like Kansas City and Philadelphia, respectively. Turn our attention, Scott, to some player props. And I know you like to do this, especially with the quarterbacks in the offseason. We hit on a number of different ones last year. Some intriguing prices. We'll start with Baltimore. Best odds to potentially win the AFC Championship with Lamar Jackson. 4,172 passing yards, elite output, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Guess what his number in 2025 is? You want to take a guess on the passing yardage for Lamar Jackson. Don't look up on FanDuel right now.
I'm not. I don't think it's 4,000. I'll go 3,850.
3,450, Scott.
Woo!
And a half.
They really expect a regression.
3,450 and a half at minus 114 on both sides. That's, come on. I mean, how do we figure that?
Yeah. I mean, he threw for 4,000 yards last year, right?
Correct.
So
and the year before that, Scott, the year before that, 36-78 with 24 touchdowns.
Wow. Yeah, threw for, look at it now, almost 4,200 yards. So that's right. I didn't think they would go 4,000 for him, but, 34 and I tell you, and he's not really been hurt. He's been, fairly healthy, or at least last year anyway. I know he had that issue a couple of years ago when he got his new contract. But, a lot of these, Joe, are all just based on will the guy stay healthy. If he stays healthy, I'm not the biggest Lamar Jackson throwing fan in the world. I'm not. But he's got to throw for 3,500 yards. It's almost impossible not to in 2024-25 with the way they throw the football now.
Okay. All right, so let's go. So we're both on the over there, right?
Yeah.
We're both okay. So they sucked us in hook, line, and sinker on that one.
Sinker.
Okay. Justin Fields, new starting quarterback for the New York Jets. My guy. What do you think FanDuel tacked on his number? Now, he played in limited action last year, 1,106 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Let me just reiterate. 4-2 as a starting quarterback, did lead 3 wins on the road for the Steelers, and they decided for him to walk out the door and still don't have a quarterback outside of Mason Rudolph on the roster, and Will Howard that has no game experience. That being said, what do you think the number is for the New York Jets starting quarterback in 2025?
I'd say 3,450.
2,600 and a half. I'm buying that number right now. 2,600.
Wow.
2,600 and a half, Scotty. That's, do the math. Get the calculator out.
Who's the Jets backup? Who's the Jets backup?
Well,
because that tells me that they don't think he's going to be starting. That's he's not playing 17 games and throwing for 2,700 yards, right? 2,700 divided by 17. Let's just say he plays all 17.
Tyrod Taylor.
Is
Tyrod
150. 158. That's basically what he throws. When you break it down that way. I mean, the 2,600.
I'm buying that right now. He might have almost 2,000 yards by week 10. Are you kidding me? Come on.
I don't know about that.
I'll take that bet right now.
For 200 yards?
Yes.
I got to look at their schedule.
And a half. Forget the schedule. Schedule.
If they have home games in December and he's throwing in 30-degree temperatures or worse, he's not throwing for 200 yards. He can't throw for 200 yards in the middle of the afternoon on a perfect sunny day. If it's cold, forget about it. He's not going to throw for 100 yards. Okay. But I still like the over 2,600. I do like the over 2,600.
All right, so let's go to somebody else now that could chuck it. Another AFC team. Don't look.
I'll give you one. Okay, you give me one. I got one for you.
Last one. Geno Smith, newfound home in Las Vegas. All Geno does is throw me the ball, Geno. Pete Carroll, Ashton Genty. What do you think Geno Smith's number is this year? Now,
guy who scores touchdowns for both teams, right? I would say 3,750.
You're right there, 3,650. I'm selling, going over the top. Sell on Geno Smith. We'll come back with some NFC quarterbacks prop bets coming up next on Football Full Circle. Don't go anywhere. Keep it where it is, baby. We're coming back.
The Winning Edge. You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Baseball Thursday, the Cubs beat the Pirates 8-3. Chicago took Pirates starter Paul Skeens deep 3 times. The Reds scored a 9-1 win at home over the Cardinals. The Diamondbacks doubled up the Mets 4-2. Bobby Witt Jr. has hits in 22 straight. He helped the Royals beat Tampa 8-2. In 10 innings, the Guardians got by the Twins 4-3. The White Sox beat the Brewers 8-0. The A's shut out the Rangers 3-0. The Nationals doubled up Philadelphia 4-2. The Tigers pounded the Angels 10-4. The Blue Jays over the Red Sox 4-2. The Rockies got by the Giants 4-3 in San Francisco. NBA playoffs last night. The Clippers forced a Game 7. They beat the Nuggets 111-105. James Harden 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists in the win.
Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Lowe's helps refresh your garden in time for Mother's Day. Right now, get 4 bags of 1.5 cubic foot Scott's Naturescapes mulch for just $10. Plus, select 1.5 gallon annuals hanging baskets make the perfect gift. Now 2 for only $15. The best garden starts with great deals. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/7. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
You're listening to Sports Grid.
Spreading the winning edge far and wide.
Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it.
The winning edge is everywhere.
Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, back on the weekend edition of Football Full Circle. Joe Lisi, Scott Wetzel, breaking down off-season odds. I gave my assessment about Geno Smith and the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it's the actual number, Scott, 36.25.5, minus 114 to the over and under. I'm selling that number. I know Brock Bowers is there, Jacoby Myers. They got some help in terms of the draft, but Ashton Genty and that offensive line, I think with Pete Carroll, want to be a little more ball control, especially when you're going up against the likes of Justin Herbert and Pat Mahomes and Bo Nix in the division, right? Want to keep more explosive offenses potentially on the sidelines. That can lead to time of possession and maybe Geno Smith getting under that total. You had a player for me. We love doing trivia. So go ahead, give me the numbers and we'll see if I could guess the potential quarterback that you're talking about for the upcoming season.
All right, I got 3 for you. First one, this quarterback has thrown for 5,000 yards, 4,000 yards, 4,700 yards, 4,800 yards, 5,200 yards, 4,200 yards, and last year just under 4,000. His number this season is 4,000. He's thrown for 4,000 yards 7 of his 8 years in the league, and the one he didn't last season was 7,200. And they're only giving you 4,000 for him.
Has to be Pat Mahomes. Has to be
Patrick Mahomes.
But you see now, I would take that. I would take that number because knowing that number one, they were working in Xavier Worthy. They didn't know what to get from Rashee Rice in year number 2. He gets hurt in the game against the Chargers. Now, all of a sudden, they were basically a one-trick pony. They didn't get Marquise Brown back into that offense until week 13, week 14. So now with with that Xavier Worthy coming back, Rashee Rice coming back, Kelsey's coming back. It's still going to warrant some double teams in certain situations. You would think that Pat Mahomes clears that fairly easy this year, especially without an elite running back, right?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, he had his worst season in the world last year, and he still came within 70 yards. And they're giving you 4,000?
So we're both on the over. We're both on the over.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, next guy. This is touchdown passes. Last 2 seasons, he's had 22 and 23. He's on a good team. And his number this year, after having 22 and 23, 19 and a half. Would you go over?
And he's on a good team.
Yeah.
Oof. All right. Hang on. Let me just think. 22 and 23 on a good team. Is it Kyler Murray?
Nope. Better team.
Better team. NFC
I don't
or
count
AFC?
that's my average.
I know.
NFC. Yeah. NFC.
Stafford.
Nope. Better than that.
Better than that. Goff?
Jalen Hurts.
I was going to say Hurts, but I thought he threw, maybe I'm thinking of the Super Bowl year he threw 33, right? I thought that was a couple of years ago. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah. You know what? He threw 18 last year. My bad. It was 22, 23, and 18 last year.
Okay.
So they're giving you 19 and a half. All right. So I screwed up.
Wait. 19 and a half but that's okay. I would take that in a heartbeat for Jalen Hurts. There is no way that with Devontae Smith, AJ, I don't even care that Saquon's coming back. And knowing what they have, I would take that in a heartbeat. Yeah, too bad you can't alt these up, Scotty. They should. I know. Yeah. Hey, FanDuel, know I love to play the MLB overs and overs with all. How about we alt the props? You want to give me 3,000? Yeah. I'll take it to 3,500. There's something you could do. Okay. So, but we're in agreement on Hurts too.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Third one. This is the best one out of all three, as far as the numbers not matching up. This quarterback, we'll go touchdown passes first, then yards. This quarterback has thrown last 5 years touchdown passes, 28 last year, 29 before that, 35 before that, 36 before that, 37 before that. And they're giving you for this season 27 and a half. He's hit that the last 5 seasons.
All right, hang on. I think I might know who this is. What did he throw for last year? How many?
28. 29 before that, 35, 36, 37, the 3 other years.
I would say that's Jared Goff.
Nope. His passing yards prop, last 3 seasons, only 37, 31 last year. But 43, 43, 44, 45, the 4 years before that, and they're giving you 37, 31.
Josh Allen.
Bingo. Good man. Good man.
All right.
Those numbers are so off, Joe. It's not even funny. The guy's thrown for 28 touchdown passes 5 straight years. He's thrown for 4,000 yards 4 of his last 5. I mean,
that is
all
crazy.
These numbers are all basically, if the guys stay healthy, Joe, they're going to get their numbers. You're betting on whether these guys stay healthy or not whether they'll perform, right?
Okay, so let's talk about 2 guys that have been banged up. To your point, Dak Prescott, his number 37.50 and a half. Do we believe that with a 7.5 win total, Schottenheimer as coach, knowing what they have in the division, right? They have to challenge Dayton Daniels and obviously Jalen Hurts. We know the Giants will just say for right now are out of it. Could he get over 37.50 and a half in this new offense?
I would think so, right? They're not bringing in a new head. He's not new. He's been there, right? But, they're going to want to throw the ball.
Right.
And that's one thing Dallas does do, as far as they're successful, fairly successful regular season. The issues come in the postseason. So for 3,700 yards, I mean, I think, and I'll double check here in a sec, but nearly every quarterback who played every game probably got 3,700 yards last year or darn near close to it. Right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So it's a pretty good look, Scott. And Scott will be back in a couple of seconds dealing with some technical issues. But to Scott's point about Dak Prescott, 37.50 and a half, as long as he plays basically 15 to 17 games, he should be able to clear that fairly easy. The other quarterback I did want to discuss was Tua. The problem is I'm not seeing actually Tua's number listed up there. If you bet a number on Tua, you always have the injury concerns for the Miami offense. We know that Tyreek Hill has the off-the-field situations, right, Scott, in terms of Tua? They haven't posted a total, but you would have to think Tua's in the area of Dak as well, 3750, 3800, no?
I would.
Yeah, we'll wait. We'll see in regards to Scott's opinion about Tua. But, you know, Tua's an interesting type of prop bet this year. We don't know what the offense is going to look like. I do believe that Mike McDaniel is on the hot seat in Miami. They have and shown a propensity to run the football in big games. That could always lead to time of possession and potentially Tua not making his yardage prop this season. I think it's interesting when you look at it. Tyreek Hill as well. Are you going to get that type of productivity? Jalen Waddle struggled for much of the year last year. He was an invisible man in big matchups. That's the cause of concern for the Miami Dolphins moving forward. We'll touch on him. Also intriguing numbers right now on Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers for the upcoming season. Coming right back with more props right here on Football Full Circle. Keep it where it is.
Saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie. Just saying. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. The NFL is issuing a fine to the Atlanta Falcons and the team's defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich following an investigation into a prank call made to Shedeur Sanders during the 2025 NFL Draft. Sanders and several others were the victims of prank calls while waiting to be contacted during the draft last week. An Army combat veteran whose Gulf War experience triggered severe mental problems is scheduled to be executed today in Florida for the shotgun killings of his girlfriend and her 3 young children in 1998. Barring a last-minute reprieve, Jeffrey Hutchinson is set to receive a lethal injection tonight at the Florida State Prison near Stark. The execution, if carried out, will be the 4th in Florida this year under the death warrant signed by Governor Ron DeSantis. The 62-year-old Hutchinson has long claimed he is innocent and that 2 unknown assailants perpetrated the killings as part of a U.S. government conspiracy. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
It's Macy's Friends and Family Sale. Hurry in for insider deals on must-have spring styles from your favorite brands, like an extra 30% off new dresses, handbags, and accessories from Karl Lagerfeld Paris, Donna Karan New York, Avec La Vie, and more. Plus, get 15% off fragrances, beauty, and skincare, too. It's not only the best time to shop for yourself, it's also the best time to shop early for Mother's Day. Don't miss Friends and Family and Sunday at Macy's. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Are you a small business owner who needs immediate cash flow? At Swish Funding, we have flexible funding options from $25,000 to $2 million. For the best rates and terms for your business, just one application to Swish Funding gives you access to our entire network of funders, with cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM?
Things have progressed.
Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called
the deposit notification.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, back on Football Full Circle. We left off talking about some quarterbacks. No number on Tua, which is sort of interesting. We'll see if we can get it up next week or potentially over the month of May. If you could jump on a good number, that's what it's all about in terms of the offseason. I did bring up Justin Herbert. You look at Justin Herbert's number, and we talked about Pat Mahomes being at 4,000. Justin Herbert right now, 37.50.5, minus 114 either way. Last year, Herbert just got over that number, 3,870 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They get Amarion Hampton that comes over in the draft. He's the running back from North Carolina. They also take on Najee Harris, the free agent running back from Pittsburgh. They want to have a ground and pound mentality. They've elevated the running back position. When you just think about the running backs that they had last year, they had Haskins from Michigan, more of a pedestrian type of running back, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. They have elevated the running back room significantly this year with Najee Harris, which I believe is a better overall running back, and more importantly, Amarion Hampton. Do I love Amarion Hampton? No, but he's still an upgrade in terms of a young, productive back that could be a dynamic 1-2 punch. You sprinkle in Ladd McConkey, you sprinkle in the wide receivers that they got, Trey Harris, the youngster from Ole Miss that is an unbelievable talent coming out. He's a speedster, very good route runner. You add him with Ladd McConkey in that offense. Justin Herbert has the ability to cook. Now, they also add Mike Williams. Mike Williams, if as long as he's healthy, can be a productive wide receiver, but that's easier said than done. Didn't really pan out with Aaron Rodgers in New York, had some unbelievable drops that cost me some prop bets last year. Did step up in limited action for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You want to call him a one-hit wonder. He was good for potentially one reception, maybe 20 or 30 yards. Outside of that, Russell Wilson didn't go to him. But if he could be at least somewhat adequate, you're sprinkling Quentin Johnson that is basically has hands like cinder blocks. If he could elevate his game this year, Justin Herbert could get through that number. Now, it's still a number that he's going to challenge. You look at the last year's productivity, 38.70, and he was 23 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Jim Harbaugh now in year number 2 has to get to basically the divisional round. They lost last year in the wild card round to Houston. They struggled to run the football consistently, couldn't throw the football in the second half of that matchup. They got abused in terms of the interior line on both sides of the ball, offense and defensive lines. Justin Herbert threw 4 critical interceptions. Does Jim Harbaugh want Justin Herbert to potentially get to 4,000, 4,200 yards is the question in the regular season. I don't believe so. You look right now, 37.50.5. I would sell that number in 2025. Other notables, Sam Darnold, we brought up his touchdown prop for Seattle this year. I think it's in the area, last time I checked, 21.5. You look at the yardage for Sam Darnold, 35.25.5, minus 114 either way. We know about last year with Sam Darnold's success. He did have Justin Jefferson in that lineup, did have Jordan Addison in that lineup, put up 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, Scott. We're talking about Sam Darnold in Seattle. 4,300 yards last year. They're expecting him 35.25.5. Could he get to that number this year? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, either am I. You know, he's going from the greatness to he's getting asked to be the hero, like he was with the Jets, like he was with Carolina. There's a reason why teams weren't going gaga over him, and he didn't get his 45 million like a typical quarterback would get with the numbers he put up last year, right? So, and are they really sold on him? Give him a couple of year contract, meaning would they yank him after 4, 5, 6 games if he wasn't doing well? Yeah, that's the other thing. You're betting on health, Joe, and you're betting on will the guy be successful enough to stay in the lineup. When you get to guys like this, you have to worry about that with Josh Allen or Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, some of the guys we talked about. But when you get to the Sam Darnolds of the world, yeah, if he plays every game, maybe that's a pretty good year that you're asking him to have, right?
Right.
On a team that doesn't mind running the football. So I would go under with him.
I would too. No, if DK Metcalf was in that lineup, I might take a different approach, knowing that they're a little bit handcuffed. outside of JSN, they're a little bit, inexperienced outside of that. They lose Tyler Lockett as well. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker were there. I might take a shot, though, Scott, and we talked about it. His touchdown prop was in the area like 21.5. I much would rather take Sam Darnold in the touchdown prop market as opposed to the yardage market in that aspect, right? The bottom line is you're talking about 36 touchdowns to 21 touchdowns. That's a significant drop-off. Now, not the same wide receiver talent. We get that. But if you can't throw 21 touchdowns, what are we saying here? I'd much rather take a shot on that number than the yardage.
Right. Because he might not get the yardage because they want to run the football. But you said it, 21 touchdowns in 17 games. Basically won a game. There's got to be a couple of games where he throws 2 or 3. There might be a game where he doesn't throw any. I get that, but you're right. 21 from 35 last season. That's a halfway decent number. So
here's another one. Here's another one that's intriguing. Second-year starter for the most part, Michael Penix in Atlanta, 32.50.5. Now, Bijan, Tyler Algiers, we know they want to run the football. Can Penix surpass 32.50.5?
Yeah, right. I mean, 3,300 yards is not a lot. I would like it a lot more if they got rid of Kirk Cousins. This way it's like absolutely it's your show. Whereas if Cousins is still on the team and he struggles, maybe not. But probably stay away.
He's shown it. 4,000-yard passer at Washington led his team to a national championship appearance. We'll see if he can get there. Come back and wrap up the show. Keep it where it is.
Is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Pharrell, Coast to Coast, keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi. Then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to SportsGrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
It's stark but true.
You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change.
Just be sure to wear gloves.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
Scott and I will be back all next week on Football Full Circle. We'll be breaking down divisional odds, also the prop markets across multiple AFC and NFC players. We left off talking about the quarterbacks in this segment, in this show. tomorrow, or excuse me, next week, we'll dive into the running backs, some deep running back markets on FanDuel, so we'll check out those. But you did have a couple wide receivers that you wanted to check on, and we'll dive into more wide receivers next week, Scott. But give me the two that you have. I'll see if we can pick off some value.
Yeah, these are numbers you just, I don't know how you can't play the over, Joe. I got a wide receiver whose number they're giving you now. He has hit his last 7 straight years and 8 of his last 9.
Mm. Okay, is he with the same quarterback or team? Okay, so give me the numbers last year.
All right, last year it was a combined number of 1,000.
Okay, how many touchdowns?
Last season he had a combined 8 touchdowns.
All right, I think I know who it is. What's his number?
925.
Devontae Adams.
There you go. He's hit that 7 straight years, Joe. Even last year, as bad as things were with the Raiders and the Jets, he still hit that. He hit over 1,000. He's got over 1,000 5 straight years. 6 of his last 7. He's hit this number 7 of his last 8. And now he's going to a Rams team that's going to do nothing but throw the football. How doesn't he get 925 or 926 yards?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. So, and again, you look at Stafford's number. I saw it. I didn't bring it up, but Stafford's number, Scott, 37.75.5. Okay. I was going to bring that up as being a little bit light. We know that Kyron Williams and Blake Corum have come on in terms of the rushing attack. They do like to run the football and have offensive balance. But with Puka there and now having Devontae Adams, you get the tight end in terms of the draft. It's not bad value when you think about Stafford's number this year and Devontae Adams, more importantly. They did tack, and I don't know if they just put this up because I brought it up. I didn't see a Tua number, Scott. 3,500 and a half, but we talked about injuries. That I would sell. I'm just not sold that Tua potentially, number one, if McDaniel gets fired like I believe, I think this team is going to limp to potentially a 5 or a 6 win season. You're going to have players checked out. 3,500 and a half, I'm selling.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely not going higher. To me, that's either an under or no bet. Because you said it, you got 2 ways to lose. Well, really 3. 1, he's not effective. But I think if he was effective, he would get 3,500, right? But 2, as you've talked about, the team implodes, as I think it will as well. I think they could blow the whole thing up midway through, and then who knows what's going to happen after that. And then, obviously the last one where he gets hurt, which, he's obviously overdue for an injury. So That would be a rare underplay.
Yeah, we'll see. I like the under in terms of Tua. What's the last wide receiver you had for me?
This is a little tricky one. So he's had this number all 6 years he's been in the league. 900 yards or more receiving. They're giving you 900 and a half. He's had 900 every single year he's been in the league.
Ooh, 900 every single year he's been in the league. And what's the number?
Team. 900 and a half.
No, key was new team. All right. Yeah. Hang on. New team.
With no quarterback for this year.
All right. Now, all right. Let me just go through no quarterback for this year. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I would say, I'll just throw it out.
You'll get it if you run it out. If you run it through, you got to go for every single team.
Yeah, you got to go through. I'm just going to throw a name out. We'll see. Stephon Diggs. I don't think it's right, though.
No. DK Metcalf. With Pittsburgh, who knows who their quarterback is, but they're giving you 900 and a half, and he's had 900 in all 6 years.
I don't know if I like that. Not going to
get 900?
I don't know if I like that number. What does this offense look like? And what does this offense look like? They drafted Caleb Johnson from Iowa. They're going back to ground and pound. Sell for Danny Oler, Scott Wetzel. I'm Joe Lisi. We'll see you next week on Football Full Circle. Have a great weekend, everyone.
You've found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.